Good morning, this is Kumuho Mano, SBC. I'm going to show you a quick tutorial on how to use a couple of semi-advanced tools in Adobe Illustrator. So of course, quickly you would create a new file. You would remember that we want to make sure we set the artboard. So for the purposes of this project, the logo project, we're going to go 5 inches by 5 inches just for now to start. Doesn't have to be too large. Make sure it's in inches and click OK. So there's my artboard. And first things first, I'm going to show you how to use the Pathfinder tool. Okay, so if you don't see your Pathfinder, I have mine right down here in this bottom corner. Then you're going to have to go to Window, scroll down and click on Pathfinder. Then you will see that your Pathfinder will show up. It's this thing that right down here. Okay, there's these different buttons. I want to quickly show you how to use it. The Pathfinder allows you to manipulate different shapes. So in order to show you how it works, I'm going to have to create some shapes. Okay, so I'm going to create a square, and I'm going to create a circle. Okay, I'm going to change their colors just so that it makes it easier for the sake of this this tutorial demonstration. So I don't want to stroke. I just want to put make this green, make this one, sure, let's make it purple. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these on the side for now. I'm going to just have you focus on this artboard over here. So I'm going to take these two shapes by selecting both of them, holding Option, I'll click and drag. I've just made a copy. Okay, so I'm going to overlap the circle with the square. Okay, and then the first shape tool that I'll show you for the Pathfinder is Unite. As you can see, it says Unite when you hover over it. When I click it, oh, I'm sorry, make sure that I had that warning because these shapes were not selected. So if you ever try and click it again, you see how it says no results, please select two overlapping paths. That means you have to select both shapes like this, and then go ahead and click the button. Okay, so what it did, as you can see, it united this as a single shape. It's no longer two separate shapes, it's one shape. Okay, so Command Z to undo. So again, I'll go ahead and select both of them together. I'll click the next one that commonly will be used is minus front. Okay, so as you can tell right here, you have the circle in front of the square. So when I have them both selected again, click minus front. What it does is it minuses what's in front plus everything that's behind it, the shape that's behind it. So as you can see, it cut out that circle shape. Okay, so of course, as you can imagine, if I select both of them, there's the other button down here which is minus back. It'll do just the opposite. Whatever's behind will get deleted, and it'll cut out a shape of what's in front. Okay, so undo again. That's another common one. Other ones that you will probably use would be you may use intersect, you may use exclude. Okay, so intersect, I'll click intersect over here, and as you can see, the portion that was intersected, okay, is just this portion here where that corner of the square is and this curve. So wherever was intersecting, the places that were overlapping stays, everything else gets deleted. Okay, I'll show you one more time. Okay, if I go ahead and select both and I do the opposite, which is the exclude, okay, it'll do the opposite and it'll actually delete what was intersected, the portion that was overlapping, and it saves everything else. Okay, so this Pathfinder will come in handy when you're trying to use shapes in creating your logo. Okay, you may be having to cut out shapes. Let me show you how to use the pen tool, and there may be an example that pops up where you will be able to use. I'll show you how to use maybe the Pathfinder with the pen tool. Okay, so for now, I'm gonna go ahead and I'll leave my example shapes on the left. I'll delete this right here. Okay, so you guys would have taken a picture of your sketches that you've been creating for your logo project. So take a photo with your phone and you would send it to your computer using Send Anywhere. Of course, it would probably show up on your desktop. Okay, so I didn't do a sketch. I just grabbed a image that would resemble a sketch. Okay, so since you're going to have your picture from your phone on your computer, you would go ahead and drag it onto your artboard. Okay, if you haven't talked about it before, make sure when you see this X on top of any image, you want to click up here on the top left, embed. Okay, that prevents your image from being just linked to your file versus actually being embedded into your file. If you do not embed, what will happen is if you transfer the file, save the file, and delete the picture, so if I deleted this from my desktop, then your image will not show up on your file, even if you saved it. So you have to make sure you embed pictures that have X's on them. Okay, so when you guys have your image in here, it may not be smaller than your artboard, or probably be much larger than your artboard, something like this, or maybe even bigger, because you guys are working with high resolution images from your phones. Just make sure that you shrink it down using Shift. So hold Shift, drag, shrink it down, and you want to just make sure that you maximize the space within your artboard. Okay, so make sure that your image fits inside. Don't worry about any other overlap, as long as your image fills your artboard. Okay, so Command plus to zoom back in. Okay, remember we talked about layers, so go ahead and click on your layers. Right now, everything's on layer 1. You want to make sure that your sketch is going to be on its own layer and locked, because you don't want it to be moving around as you are working with it. So you can go ahead and click it. I'm going to cut it from here, create new layer. Layer 2 is the new layer on the bottom, and then Command Shift V pastes it back where I cut it from, and I'll put a lock on it. Okay, so now it's locked up. Okay, before I even lock it up, let me unlock it real quick. Before I lock it up, we can actually drop down the opacity a little bit. We can drop it down to maybe about, let's just go 75, or you decide what opacity you might need to make sure that it's less easier to use. It's going to be much like using a when you're trying to trace over something using like a light board or something like that. So it's just going to make it easier to see the lines you're tracing. Okay. I'm going to go back to layer 1 because that's where I'm going to be tracing this image using the pen tool. Okay. I'm going to try to use my trackpad. I don't have a mouse connected, but if you guys have the opportunity to get a mouse connected, it'll probably be easier. For some people it is, some people it's not. Okay, but go ahead and click on the left here, pen tool. Okay, so click and hold. You want the top one. Don't use the plus, the minus, or the anchor point. Just use the pen tool for now. Okay, so there's a couple of strategies, but I'll show you just basically what the pen tool can do, and then if you need help, then we can help you in class with more of the technique. Okay, so what the pen tool can do, first and foremost, let's hide the sketch for now. When you click on one spot, you click on another spot, you click on another spot. As you see, every time I click, it starts creating and building a shape. Once I come back to the beginning, you see the circle on top of the cursor, and I'll click on that anchor, and now it's closed the shape off. Okay, so now it's just any random shape. I can change the color, I can do whatever I want to it. Okay, when you're tracing the lines, you may not want to see this this filled in portion, so you can go ahead and switch it so that it's your stroke, so you can see only the lines you're tracing. Keep in mind when you're tracing though, you do want to fill shapes in, because you might need to have a filling for depending on your sketch instead of just lines, because we are trying to work with something that's going to be cut out. We need to make sure that everything in your logo sketch, your logo design, will be shapes, not just lines. Okay. Alright, so let me delete that. So that's the simple way to use the pen tool. So of course, say I was going to try and trace the sun, I could, do it this way and just go right around and keep clicking. And I'm slowly starting to fill in the middle portion of the sun. Okay. What happens is if I do it that way, I'm going to hide the sketch now. You can see that it's not a nice clean circle. Even though I did fill it in, it's very jagged with the edges. So that's not the best way to do it. There is a way to use the pen tool to fill in that sun a little bit better. So if I click on the pen tool again, delete that old shape, you click on one spot and you can find another portion on a curved line, any curved line. This is just an example. Click and hold, and as I'm holding it now, I can actually pull the line to try and make it match up along the thing that I'm tracing. Okay, so you can see once I let go, it's starting to fill a curve. Okay, we're going to be aware of this handle and this handle. These are anchor point handles. They allow you to manipulate your pen tool. So I'll show you without having to mess with the handles what happens if I don't. Okay, if I try to find another spot on the sun to try and trace, you can see that right over here, look at this portion of the line. it's coming out past the sun where I don't want it to be. It's not fitting on the line exactly. Okay, so that's why you would use these handles to manipulate. So moving the handle further in. Okay, so right now it's doing this. It's coming out first because the handle is pointing in this direction. I want it to come a little bit more down and this direction. So I'm going to hold Option. Now you see my cursor has changed. Now I can bring my handle in a little bit more. And now when I try to grab a different point, it doesn't go as far out anymore. Okay, now I can actually try to build my circle a little bit better. Okay, so then of course I'm just gonna complete the circle. I'm not gonna mess with the handles just for the sake of the demo. And as you can see, I no longer have a jagged edge. It is a more curved edge. If I took care to finish the circle properly, it would be much more circle-like and not so blob-like. Okay, so that's just for the example. I'm going to delete this. Of course, if you are working with circles, squares, anything simple, then don't worry about using the pen tool. Focus on your shapes first. So the fact that we have a circle for this sun, go ahead and grab the ellipse tool, hold Option and Shift, and I can just make my circle that way. So don't utilize the pen tool unless you absolutely have to. Think about what shapes you can build first. Okay, and as you can see for the sun, very simple. I can actually go and click each corner. Click each corner, and there you go. Now I have my sun, one of my sun rays. Okay. The other important thing to realize when you're working in Illustrator for this project is if it's a sun or something with repeating images like this, repeating rays, I have all these rays, there's no need for me to go and click the pen tool for every sun ray. I can actually go ahead and hold Option on this shape, make a copy, and I can rotate my image, my shape that I've made. Rotate it, make it fit roughly, and I can go ahead and shrink it down. So instead of me having to trace every little thing, especially when they're similar, I can just make a copy and continue that copy. Okay? And as you can see, for example, on this particular shape right here, this little tinier sun ray, if I turn off my sketch, even though it's not lined up exactly where the sketch is, you can still move around your shapes to suit your purpose. So your sketch is only your guide. Your sketch is not going to be your blueprint. Okay, so you don't have to go exactly according to your sketch. Your sketch is just to help you build your shapes. Once you have your shapes built, you can go ahead and move them around, manipulate them, and do whatever you need to complete your logo design. Okay, so that's pretty much a quick and easy version of how to use the shape tool with the Pathfinder, and of course utilizing the pen tool. Okay, so I mentioned that we're going to try to use the pen tool with the Pathfinder. So here's one quick example. I have these two shapes I just created using the pen tool, and say I wanted to try and do something else with this. So say I completed the sun over here. Make another copy. I'm going to rotate it. Say this was just like a half sun or whatever I'm working with. Yeah, so this is my design. Let's say I wanted to do the inverse. I wanted to flip it. I don't want the sticker to be this. I want the sticker to be everything else around it. Okay, so what I could do is I'm going to grab the ellipse tool. I'll just make a copy of this circle right here. Okay, I'm going to enlarge it. Okay, let's make it a little bit smaller, touching the edge. Okay, so I can go ahead and click on all of this. If I were to grab my Pathfinder, which it disappeared, so I'm just going to click it again over here. Okay, minus front. So when I minus front, you can see that now I have the kind of a cookie cutter situation. I have this circle, this shape, and now the sticker is going to be this purple part, not what used to be pink, now the white part. Okay, so that's a way to incorporate your Pathfinder and your pen tool. So think about those different options as you're building your logos. Okay, good luck with it, and just let either Kumu, Kavika, or I let us know if you guys need any assistance while working with these tools.